Recording.
Nice robot lady.
Yes. Thank you, nice robot lady. I always say that. Oh, I'm the guy who thanks Siri, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Siri, send an alarm. Thank you. She
Me
never
too.
she never responds, but
Right, right.
I like to be polite, even with
That's my mom.
right.
Yeah.
Jason Strober. Am I saying your name right?
That's right.
All right. So, Jason, you're coming to us from California.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to ask you to pronounce the name of the company. It's Saiva, which I could think of that could be Saiva. It could be Saiva. Well, how do you pronounce it?
Most people pronounce it Saiva, and Saiva is just fine.
Saiva. How do
Yeah.
you pronounce it?
Oh, Saiva.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll go with that. All right. So the reason we're talking today is because I do some shows on Sunday morning, and one of them is called Senior Class, and it's sort of geared towards folks in their golden years, or folks living with folks in their golden years. And it's the host of that show. His name is Rusty McMurray. Works with Sunshine Care here in Tulsa. And I think you're familiar with Rusty. I think you know a little bit.
Sure.
And he was telling me about what you guys are doing with Saiva and that you're bringing it to Tulsa. Actually, you're in that process now, I think, of setting it up. And I thought, this is really interesting stuff. So if you could start by telling us what it is Saiva does, and then maybe we'll talk about why in the heck, or how did you come to decide to bring it to Tulsa? So let's start with, what is Saiva?
What is Saiva? So Saiva is really a company that is building a system that helps nursing homes figure out who is at risk of going back to the hospital over some small period of time, like 3 days. And what we do is every day, our system looks at all of the data that's been inputted into the electronic health record system for a nursing home. And then during the night, it spins and processes all of that data that's been entered. And then, around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we send out secure emails to the directors of nursing at the nursing homes. And the email consists of a PDF that tells them who is at greatest risk of going back to the hospital over the next 72 hours and why those people are at risk. And when the director of nursing comes into the, in the morning, she can print those reports out, look at them, take them to their morning meeting, and then talk through those residents, those people who are at risk, and then strategize with the rest of the team there to go and figure out how to take actions that will reduce those risks. And what we found is that's really helpful. It reduces rehospitalizations among people, in these nursing homes quite a bit.
And when you say quite a bit, I heard a statistic, I read it on your website. It said 52%. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've seen reductions of 52%. Now, I can't guarantee that everybody sees that, but over time, as nurses get better and better at sort of understanding our reports and how to work with them, we can definitely see those sorts of results. It's terrific.
All right, so let me see if I've got my head wrapped around this correctly. This is for senior care facilities, long-term residents, nursing homes, I think is the traditional term. And because everybody, as they're going and checking on all the residents every day, and they're entering all this information, but collating all of that and going through it and then highlighting where the trouble spots are would be extremely time consuming and take, I guess people just haven't been able to do that. And this is an artificial intelligence that's able to collate all that data like really fast and then point and go, okay, that's going to be an issue here in about 3 days.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there is first of all, the nurses at nursing homes are really busy, and it is a stressful environment. And a lot of their time is spent entering data into these electronic health record systems. But sometimes, the kinds of diseases that we're seeing in these nursing homes that people have, they're really complicated. And often people have, multiple chronic diseases. And so it's very difficult for nurses to, go in after hours and start looking at all of the data that's been inputted into the electronic health record system and make sense of all this information and data, and then figure out, what should be done, who's at risk, who is greatest risk. That's something a computer can do very well. And that's what we're doing. And so we sort of view ourselves as working with nurses to really pinpoint who's at risk and direct them to, look at certain people and take actions to reduce risk.
And I don't have any figures in front of me. I haven't done a lot of research on this, but just sort of common sense tells me that if you're living in a long-term residential care facility and you go to the hospital, the chances of coming back to that long-term care facility are not all that great, because you're going to be pretty sick. And like you said, you've got a lot of folks with very chronic illnesses. So I guess what I'm saying is this is not just saving time and potentially money, it's saving lives.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these folks in the nursing homes, taking them to the hospital is a big step. It's stressful in a hospital. You're taking them out of the environment they're used to. And, there's all kinds of troubles when people go back to the nursing homes, and especially bounce back and forth. They can't sleep. Their, circadian rhythms are disturbed. All kinds, and then, their hospitals are full of all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't, want to have anybody go to. So, you know, I think keeping and treating people in place is really important. And that's what the nurses tell us.
So do you have any statistics about, if a person goes to a hospital from a residential care facility, what their, I guess, prognosis is, or whether, is there any
How
kind
much
of,
I don't, but anecdotally, I can tell you that they're going to be worse off. The New York Times did a great piece on this several years ago about what they called hospital syndrome, and I suggest that if your readers are interested, you can go look at that. But there are all
hospital
kinds of hospital
hospital
syndrome.
syndrome?
Yeah, it's what happens to you after you get out of the hospital as an elderly person, and the bad things that can happen to you, and it takes they see months and months of problems after people get out of the hospital. So you really want to treat these people in place if you can.
And it's not just physical problems, it's mental,
Sure.
it's emotional.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. How did you come to do that? I mean, what was the genesis of this idea?
Sure. So I'm a computer person. I've been in and around Palo Alto and Stanford my entire life. And one of the things that people do when they graduate from Stanford is they start companies in Palo Alto, and that's what I've been doing my entire life. It's a lot of fun. And I went to a party for my kids' school and met a venture capitalist, which it happens very frequently around here. And I got to talking to him about what sorts of companies he invests in. And he invests on behalf of this family that owns nursing homes in Florida. And I said, what's happening? What's interesting in nursing homes? And he said, well, one of the problems that we have is that 25% of people who are discharged from a hospital and come to a nursing home have to go back to the hospital within 30 days. And I said, wow, that is a lot. And he said, yeah, that is a lot. And I sort of said, has anybody looked at why that's happening? And he said, well, all kinds of people have looked, but it's difficult to sort of figure this out. And I said, well, what about the electronic health record systems that everybody uses? And he said, well, those are complicated to go and analyze. And I realized that, over the last 5 years or so, and this was, 3-4 years ago, it's gotten a lot cheaper to go and analyze big data, both because, we have cloud computing and we have better AI technologies and machine learning. And so I said to him, I'd like to go and take a look at that data. And so over the next 6 months or so, I enlisted a few of my friends and we started looking at that data. And lo and behold, we were able to predict with great accuracy, who was likely to go to the hospital over the next few days. And, when we started talking to nurses, they said, yeah, that's really useful. And so that was sort of the genesis of the company.
Wow. So I presume that there's somebody with a medical degree involved in this process somewhere, right? Who is able to figure out what parameters might want to alert the artificial intelligence to a potential problem?
So, so we do, of course, have medical professionals and doctors and nurses. By the way, oftentimes the nurses know more about what specifically is going on here than doctors. We found both to be very helpful. But the most interesting things about machine learning today and these technologies is that they can figure out which aspects of the data are most interesting and most important. So you just sort of pour in all of the data, and then it goes and crunches on all of this and figures out, hey, this variable is not so important, but this one is. The other thing that we do that, again, is just, a recent capability that we have now because technology has gotten so much better, we actually parse through the nurse notes that are taken. So one of the things that gets entered into the electronic health records is just sort of English text. The patient, said she wasn't feeling well today. The patient had, swelling in the ankles. The patient was short of breath, something like that. Our system can go and take that text and analyze it, break it down, parse it, and that's then part of the analysis that we do. And that's actually a very important source of information for us.
Wow,
It's really great.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you when people hear this, they're going to be like, well, how does this work with privacy laws and HIPAA and all that kind of stuff? Might as well go ahead and pull off that Band-Aid, Jason. How does that work?
Yeah, so that's really, really important to us. So the first thing is that we're really good at protecting patient health information like that. And a lot of times what we do is strip the stuff that we don't need, and it's all encrypted. That really is the basis of our system. And we pride ourselves on our ability to go ahead and keep that private. That's really important to us. And then, we do all of our stuff at AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they're a great partner for us. Again, they can keep our stuff secure and do a good job of that.
Interesting. All right. So early on, I was like, well, why Tulsa? Or how did this end up in Tulsa? Because from what I'm hearing, you came up with this idea like 3 or 4 years ago. This is a brand new company. Am I wrong?
It is.
All right. So how did Tulsa get into the mix? How did that work?
Yeah. So, I think there are innovators all over the country in this stuff. So you don't have to be from Palo Alto to be an innovator. And I think there are innovative people all over the country who are really concerned about what's going on in nursing homes in terms of these bounces, going back and forth to the hospital. And, there turns out there's several people in Tulsa who are really interested in this problem and are interested in using some new technologies like ours to go and improve things and improve patient care. It's great.
And I will tell you that I believe one of the first, if not the first, like PACE programs that ever existed was here in Tulsa. We had one of the first fully operational hospice facilities in the country. We've had one of the first senior living, like assisted living facilities in the country. For whatever reason, for decades, Tulsa's kind of been ahead on the curve on taking care of older folks. I don't know why, but it is interesting. So were you approached by the folks in Tulsa, or did you hear about something that was going on in Tulsa and went, let's ping those guys and see what's up?
So it turns out that there's a network of people around the United States who are interested in this problem and applying technology to it. And we got in touch with the folks in Tulsa through that network. And, the person who I think got us in touch with a guy named L. Harris, and he's in Florida. He's in Maryland, and was friends with some other folks in Florida. And, networks are great. They really,
it's who you know, right? It's who you know. See, so where are you at on that process? Do you have systems up and running in Tulsa, or are you getting ready to implement these in some facilities, or just kind of give us a sort of bring us up to date on where you're at in this process, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
so I don't want to talk too much about this because we haven't announced this project yet, but
Okay.
um, we're starting to work on contracts and get initial data. The first step is really to make sure that the data that we need can be transferred securely to us. And once that's set up, then we can start to build some models with the data. That usually takes several weeks to go ahead and build models. And then once we get those models set up, then we can start to think about, how to send reports and who should get them, and start to do some initial testing.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll keep me in the loop on all of
Sure.
that. And I'm sitting here. I'm a big picture guy, and I'm sitting here thinking predictive AI in healthcare slash telemedicine could really kind of be a paradigm shifter for healthcare in this country, if not the entire planet. Am I just crazy?
No, I think, there are lots and lots of, applications of this kind of technology. I think it's important to understand where humans are really good and where computers are really good, and figure out how to, get everybody together. I don't think, I certainly wouldn't want to be taken care of by a computer or a robot. I don't think most people would. That's not the plan. The plan here is to get people to, do what they do best, and let computers do what they do, and, really improve patient care here. And that's really the goal.
Outstanding. Well, Jason, you've been very generous with your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for being willing to even do this, much less actually explain to me how it all works, and to my listeners. So thank you.
Oh, it's
Anything else
fun.
that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think this is a really important, I always tell people that the system that we've built now is way better than it was several years ago. And the system that we're going to have in 5 years is going to be incredible. And, technology is really moving fast. And I think, it's all about improving patient care. I think, we're going to see amazing things over the next 5-10 years. It's going to be great.
Outstanding. Well, listen, again, thank you, Jason. And you've got my digits and I think my email. So please keep me in the loop on this and let me know when you guys are ready to announce what's next or what's going on. Yeah.
You bet. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your interest. This is really fun.
No, it's very interesting to me. And hey, look, gray beard.
Yeah, right.
Not much longer. I'm going to be I'm going to be
Right.
one of those people going, am I sick yet?
Right. Eventually, we're all gonna get there.
We
And,
all get older. Yeah, they haven't figured that one out.
right.
Maybe,
So if we're gonna get older, let's be sure that we can get the best care we can.
exactly. Absolutely.
All
All right,
right.
cool. Well, I'll stop it down unless you got any questions for me.
No, this is great. Thank you, Russell.
Yep.